Season 54, War number 4, and we're up against Nefti. This time my team will be Silk, the Serpent, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I will be taking Path 1 in Section 1, Path 5 in Section 2, then a Shocker, Sassy, Kindred and Bullseye miniboss, as well as that Punisher 2099 boss there, using the Serpent. Now, you don't really see Serpent being used offensively all too often, and well, if you're here to only see that, then I will tell you right now, I'm only gonna be using him for the boss, so if you wish, skip to the end for that fight. Now, starting off here we have a Nick Fury on the personal space regeneration node once again, and I will be taking the fight with Silk. This time around, however, I don't have the Shocker synergy for the Rupture debuffs, so I have to rely on Silk's own damage output to deal with this fight. The damage isn't really the issue here, it's just that the regen here gets very potent, so to try to play around that I really need to just step away and let the regens fall off whenever he gets, well, any of them. If I let him stack up too many of them, trying to deal with them using the Despair Mastery alone, due to slow not being able to apply against a class disadvantage, so yeah, the best way to go about it is just get away from him, let it fall off, and then get as much damage in as you can before another regen triggers for standing too close. About a minute in, and I got Nick Fury to his second life already. So far so good, but now my damage will be lacking even more due to not being able to use the heavy stun for the Fury passives. So I just gotta drop the special to as is, and it was still enough to finish out the fight. Then we have a Prowler on the Masochism Overtime node, and this guy is a tactic defender. He will be basically unblockable throughout the whole fight. There's nothing I can do about the Masochism node here, or the unblockable that follows with the regen buff. And Silk does not bypass miss. So this fight is a bit scary. Getting openings is basically the hard part about this fight. You either have to land an intercept or bait a heavy attack without letting the opponent touch you, because any contact you make with them will trigger the Wither debuff, triggering Masochism, making him unblockable. There is also a way to punish his specials, but the timing on that is something I have not practiced, and I do not feel comfortable doing it in Alliance War, so doing this the, I guess, slow way by trying to land the intercepts whenever possible is the way to go. I managed to play the fight well enough, no damage taken, and it was pretty quick as well. Silk does shut down most of the regen with the Sig ability as well as Despair there as well. Now at this point in time my Silk is now max Sig, so the heal reversal is actually pretty potent, which does increase her damage output by quite a lot, honestly. The Sig ability is nice to have. Generally speaking, the high Sig is not needed for anything, but it does make a difference. Now here we have a Nova on the Event Flow Intercept and Sadist nodes, and I'm taking the fight with Silk, and she doesn't exactly counter Nova in any meaningful way, and especially on the Sadist node, all of those physical vulnerability debuffs will just increase the opponent's attack rating here a lot, so a single mistake and yeah, you're probably gonna be in a world of hurt. Though this time around though, I managed to take down the Nova without making any stupid mistakes, which I tend to do against him for some reason. Then we have a Spidey Supreme on the Event Flow Intercept and Mighty Charge nodes, and I'm taking this fight with Silk as well. As stated in the Prowler fight, Silk does not bypass miss, so to deal with this guy, basically what you would want to do is to never use your mediums, only intercept with your light attacks to get the Event Flow Intercept node down, and then, well, his health pool is tiny, so you can just do a light combo into a heavy into special 2 and the fight should be over. However, muscle memory is my biggest weakness in these types of fights. I went ahead and followed up the light intercept with a medium for no reason, triggered the miss, and got punished because of it. So I'm gonna have to use a potion after this, which is not really a big deal, but it does suck. It is a fairly simple fight. You don't even have to go for intercepts, you can go for reparries as well. Just don't use your mediums and you should be good to go. Now luckily though, Spidey Supreme doesn't hit all that hard until he's ramped up, and he does not exist as a 7-star yet anyways, so the damage I took there was pretty minimal as well. The risk of dying was very low. Then we have a Shocker on the Ebb and Flow knockdown and right back at it miniboss node, and I was going to use Serpent for this fight, but the more I thought about it, the bigger the risk became in my mind, and the reason for that is Shocker is a tactic defender, so he will go unstoppable whenever the attacker's buffs expire, and well, the way you're meant to deal with that using the tactic is to utilize the slow debuff whenever you knock down the defender. Now, on the right back at it node, they go debuff immune on knockdowns, so using Serpent here with his expiring power gain buffs, yeah, you would not be able to shut down the unstoppable, and I did not want to deal with that. So Silk it is. Silk isn't exactly a great counter for Shocker, but she works well enough, and just to say it right now, I have no clue how to dex this guy's special 2 properly. I just went for it because it's Silk, she has the safety net, and so far I've landed it both times. And well, here's number 3, again full dex. I have no idea how, but it's working, so I'm not complaining. But as I was saying, Silk isn't exactly the best counter for this guy, especially on the right back at it node. The reduction to stun duration means that the stun from your heavy is at the very least scary to use. You still have enough time to land it, but yeah, it doesn't feel right to me. I hate doing it. And there's also the auto block you gotta worry about if you mismanage his charges. And essentially, to deal with that, I did not allow him to use a single special 1. That is what ramps him up the fastest, so baiting special 2s is definitely the way to go. Did end up failing 1 dex on the special 2 at the very end there, but again, Silk's auto evade is always there to save you. And that's a big part of why I love playing her. You can be as risky as you want. If you make a mistake, she'll be there to save your butt. And then we have a Sasquatch here on the Scared Stiff and for Power Focus 2 mini-boss node, along with Bubble Shield, and I will be taking this fight with Silk. This one is straightforward. It is just a sassy with a little bit more combat power rate up until 2 bars of power. I made a slight mistake there and I couldn't land a hit in time for the root node, but that's fine. I got out of it, and now at this point there's not really much that Sassy can do. The one biggest risk factor in the fight is the RNG factor in his Wrath triggers. And essentially, if he would trigger the Wrath while I'm doing my heavy charge, he would go stun immune and would be able to punish me. So me doing the heavy charge there in the special 2 was somewhat risky, but I just went for it to close out the fight and it worked out. Normally I would not recommend doing that and just playing it safe, baiting out the special 2 there and even waiting out for the Wrath trigger would be the safer way to go. And then we have a Kindred on the aspect of evolution and whatever else this mini-boss node has, and I'm taking the fight with Silk. Now Kindred is one of the defenders you can't use the special 3 rotation against because he does go stun immune every time he loses 25% of his HP, and that's, well, not really a big problem. The decay tactic completely shuts down any of the degeneration damage against this champion, so you don't even need to worry about the root phase. In fact, what I'm gonna do here is to get him to the root with basic attacks, then just stand still, bait a heavy attack or an opening, and then, while I'm taking all the regen, just use a special to remove the root and close out the fight. So here, bait a heavy, taking the degens, it's doing absolutely nothing, and the special 1 finishes him off, or them off, in roughly, what, 40 seconds, maybe even less than that. Then we have the good old Bullseye on the Conflictor and Combat Deja-Vu Prowess mini-boss node, and I'm taking the fight with Negasonic Teenage Warhead. This is basically the one fight that Negasonic was purpose built for, honestly. Bullseye on basically any node can be taken with her, unless it has that shift, I guess, since she doesn't have any immunities. But generally speaking, Negasonic can just destroy Bullseye on basically any node, any fight. And this one's not gonna be any different. Generally what you want to do against Bullseye with her is to only push him to his special 2s, because that is a whole lot easier to dex than the special 1. But the special 1's also, with the 60 frames per second, dexing it isn't too bad, so you can do that. But here with the extra prowesses, I don't feel comfortable doing that, so the special 2 is the way to go. Fight goes down in around 50 seconds, barely any damage taken, and then again, that is the only fight she's needed for, so you don't even need to use any potions to heal her back up. Then we have the final boss of the war, a Punisher 2099 that I will be taking with the Serpent. I was considering simply using Silk for this, but well, I have a new shiny rank 3 7-star Serpent who happens to be a tactic champion, so I might as well. The issue with using Silk here is that Punisher 2099 special 2 bypasses evade, so that would be a ton of cheap damage you gotta deal with, and then the special ones where you can evade that. The issue with it is he's gonna be having it throughout the fight many times more than your evade can handle due to the cooldown. So Serpent here, essentially the plan is to only spam special 2s, cosmic power back boosts to help you out with power gain, and then keep the slow up from the tactic by heavy punishing his heavy attacks and spamming more specials. If the slow falls off, I will do my best to try to land another heavy counter or special immediately to reapply the slow, so that I wouldn't have to deal with the unstoppable at all throughout the fight. The start was a bit rough. I was not all too comfortable with the spacing for the heavy attacks, and I did get clipped. However, at this point the fight is more or less under control, and this is basically how the rest of the fight is gonna go. Heavies for knockdowns for the slow debuff, evade special 1s, punish it, then special 2, do the massacre trick, or I guess Valkyrie trick as well, where you either delay your special a little bit or dash back and throw the special to make it break the opponent's block. That way the whole special will be unblockable, and honestly at this point I can't remember if that's something that you have to do or if you get something extra for doing so. I'm just used to doing it with Serpent, and the fight goes down, no issues there. The longer the fight goes on, the more damage Serpent will start dealing. He is a bit of a ramp-up champion, and yeah, he can be even used in Necropolis if you wish. He does work pretty well there too, but even in Alliance War, in these shorter fights, he works very well. And as for the results, we did end up losing the war 1-3. So once again, 3 deaths is way too many to be able to compete with these other top alliances.